This is what my game looked like on the last devlog. And this is what it looks like now. Obviously there's a big difference visually, but not only that, there's also a lot more content. I have shown a bit of progress on shorts and even in my last video, but if you missed them, I'm gonna talk about all the progress I made since the devlog. So stay tuned because I think the game is turning out pretty well. I'll just say that if I manage to release this game until the end of 2025, I think Expedition 33 is gonna have some competition. Anyways, welcome to Devlog 5 of my indie game. First of all, if you're new here, hello, my name is Nir and I'm developing a game with multiple playable characters, with them having their unique abilities and mechanics. I have 4 other devlogs about this game, so if you want to know what the game is about, I highly recommend checking them out. Okay, so starting off, in the last devlog I talked about a few things I was working on but didn't finish. Those being a rework to the enhancement system, character models, and a new environment. And I'm glad to say that all of that is now finished, but let me talk about it a little bit better. The environment used to look bad and now it looks not as bad. I went to the ruins type environment, which makes the game feel and look better. It's mostly made out of white brick walls, paths, arches and pillars, but I think it's pretty good. And I still plan on doing more environments in the future. Next, the character models. In the last devlog I only had one of the models done, which was Ashley's, but now I also have Sean's and Tess's, which means that all current characters are perfectly rigged and animated. Well, in the best way I can. None of the character designs are complex, but they're much better than capsules and definitely much better than wherever the original models were. Now talking about the enhancement rework, and I'm not gonna lie, this might be the best code I've ever coded in my life. Quick explanation, enhancements are abilities that you can purchase and equip and they'll improve the character's abilities in a certain way, whether it be more projectiles or more damage or making a projectile heal the character. Basically, it's the equivalent of giving the character steroids. What I had before is that you unlock the new enhancement every few levels with a max of 4 enhancements, but because that's more boring than watching One Piece, I decided to change it so that all characters have 6 total enhancements but only 3 slots to use. So you can only use 3 of the 6 enhancements the character has. This is very common to see in games, it's called a build. You have a lot of abilities but you can only use a few at a time. So depending on how you play the game, it makes sense to use different enhancements. And believe it or not, I got this working on a very first try. Maybe I am the best game developer in the world. I noticed that because of the new environment, the enemies I had didn't really fit, so I had to erase them and replace them with enemies that actually look like they're from the ruins. These are the Ruin Lancer, the Ruin Warrior, the Ruin Mage, the Ruin Defender, and one that I'm going to talk about soon. The Ruin Lancer is an enemy that I actually developed on my second devlog, but now it has a model. The Ruin Lancer deals impact damage when it reaches the player while running and then just starts attacking normally. The Ruin Warrior is exactly like the Ghost Warriors were, it just attacks from up close, that's it. The Ruin Mage is very similar to the Wizard, however it shoots 3 projectiles, which can deal a lot of damage if you get up close. And lastly, the Ruin Defender works just like the Ruin Warrior, but sometimes he puts up a shield that blocks player projectiles. And fighting this enemy can get pretty annoying because he could be in front of all the other enemies with a shield and it becomes very hard to hit any enemy. But really, it's a skill issue. Overall, these enemies are more interesting and better looking than the other ones. That's not to say that the other enemies are getting removed from the game, they'll just go to a different environment eventually. And now for what's probably the best feature in the entire game. I know I said the enhancement rework was the best code I made, but this might be better. Okay, it's nothing too out of this world, it's an XP based level up system that you see in many games. It works very simple. When the match finishes, you receive a certain amount of XP based on how well you performed, and that XP goes to this bar right here. And every few XP milestones you level up, and leveling up gives you rewards. Rewards such as coins, crystals, unlocking characters, and something else. But before I show what that is, just take a look at how good the level up animation is along with the animation of unlocking a character. Is this not the best thing you've seen in your life? If you said no, you're lying or you played other games. And the other reward you can get from leveling up are game modes. That's right, I finally made more game modes. You might remember that in my first devlog I developed 2 other game modes, but I hadn't touched them since. And to be fair, only one of them is in the game now. Let me show the game modes. They are Target Hunt and Vault Smash. Target Hunt is when the other enemy comes in. The goal of the game mode is to kill a big strong enemy a few times while other smaller enemies will try to protect it. The big enemy here is called Ruin Guard, and unlike every other enemy, it has 2 attacks, a swipe and a ground smash. This game mode is definitely different from the first one because you have to focus on the big enemy rather than all enemies. And the other game mode, Vault Smash, is pretty similar, but instead of a big enemy, there is a vault which has a lot more health but it doesn't attack the player. Regular enemies still spawn and will try to kill the player, and the map is also smaller. You unlock the game modes by leveling up, and currently they only have 1 map each, but I'm planning to add more maps that have a higher enemy level but also give more rewards. For now, what I have to compensate for this are these buttons that change difficulty of the map. The base level of the enemies is the same level as the level of the map, and each map level increases every reward by 40%, being that player XP, character XP, coins and crystals. This is so that when you have high level characters, you can play the game in a way that still feels challenging, and get more rewards because you'll need. These new game modes are what make my game feel like a real game. There's 3 characters, there's 3 game modes, there's a lot of abilities. This is much less than the content I want to give to the game, but it's still some content. I had some friends playtest my game and all the feedback was positive, the main criticism being that there's not a whole lot to do. So I suppose that's what I have to work on, adding more content. More game modes, more characters, other stuff, maybe even new abilities, I'm not sure myself. But I think that's pretty much it for all the main features I have to show. There's small stuff that I change and fix, but I don't want to bother anyone with small details. I can say that I'm currently working on another playable character, which is probably what my next devlog will be about. The game still has a long way to go, and I'm still motivated to work on it whenever I can. Thank you so much for watching the devlog. If you enjoyed, I'd really appreciate if you subscribed and watch my other devlogs. With that said, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!